Hi. So in January 2016, there was an article written in a journal called ResearchGate talking about bud sex, which is like bro sex, or when two guys who call themselves straight have sex with each other and then continue to call themselves straight. And in the article, the researcher contacted people on Craigslist, asking them, 19 of them from the Midwest, asking them why does they do what they do. And it turns out many of them were married, many of them were in otherwise straight sort of situations. And yet they would go and have these relationships with other men. And this seems to be such a mystery to people. And I thought that maybe, because basically these people are mostly, not basically, many of them call themselves mostly straight. But even if they don't call themselves mostly straight, they are mostly straight. And there seems to be so much mystery around this, and there have been other articles written about this, and all the time it's like, oh yeah, these straight guys are having gay sex and blah, 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 blah. It ain't that hard to understand. And I think that the reason why a lot more people don't get it is because, more people haven't explained it. So I'm going to take this opportunity to try and enlighten, those who don't understand the concept of what is happening here. Because I am mostly straight, and even as much as I identify as bisexual, I will always identify as mostly straight as well. So why does this happen? First of all, obviously, many people still live in a binary world. And although if you live in a big city, nuances have become all the rage. If you live in a less populated state, especially if you're from a small town or from a rural country, things are not going to be quite as nuanced. It's either gay or straight, and that's all everyone around there can understand. So if you have to choose between one or the other, which one are you going to choose? I'm going to tell you, from my own personal experiences, simply put, I call myself mostly straight in large part because of two reasons. First reason being, I don't get gay culture. And I'm going to say right now that I don't have to get a culture, I don't have to get a religion, I don't have to get a genderqueer expression in order to respect them. Mutually exclusive. But I do not get gay culture. I don't get it. When guys call Beyonce their queen. I don't get it that going to a drag queen show is fun. I don't get the kind of desire to dress up in clothing of a different gender. I don't get the idea of calling my male friends girls as a term of endearment. I don't get any of it. I don't get the love of musicals. I don't get the love of kitschy things. Like it's just a whole foreign thing to me, and I've never gotten it, never ever. So the idea that if I had to choose between one or the other, why the hell would I choose to be a part of the gay community? Because I don't get it. So there's that, and then on top of that, there's the idea that I think that sexual encounters with guys is fun. Like the human male has different body parts than the female does. And sometimes it's fun to, be with those different body parts. That's just a fun thing. But at the same time, I've been on the planet Earth for a while now, and I have yet to fall in love with a guy. And there's a time when I wasn't open to it, and then there was a time I was open to it. And even still, in neither case did I ever fall in love with a guy. And I don't think I ever will. And even when I do kind of imagine like it's possible, I think I could probably do it. The guys I imagine are people who share my cultural perspective. Like, it's not a guy who would roll over and say, girl, I forgot to take off my makeup last night and is now all over the pillowcases. Like that would never ever happen. It has nothing to do with, that masculinity is good and femininity is bad. It has to do with a person who lives in that world who says something like that is not someone I can identify with at all. Like, what can I identify with? I'm a mostly straight guy. I can identify with standing on the sidelines of my favorite sporting team, holding some alcohol in my hands and screaming my lungs out at the team to either score a goal or get their ass in gear. I've been that dude multiple times. I can identify with going whitewater rafting or jumping off of bridges just for the thrill of it. And I am that guy who walks into a room of strangers and pretty quickly establishes himself as the alpha male in the room. I don't do it purposefully. It just automatically happens. It is just who I am, and I embrace it. In fact, I feel so comfortable with the whole like alpha male sort of culture sort of thing that when it came time for me to like switch to paranormal romance as an author, I did not write vampire romance. I wrote werewolf romance. Why werewolf romance? Because at the heart of werewolf romance is it's all about alpha males and power structure and the women who love them and the women who are trying to be them and all that stuff. I get this. I get this instinctually. I do not get gay culture at all. Why would someone want to be a part of Boys Town? Like there was a couple of months ago, there was a bisexual leader I respect tremendously who asked me to be a part of a protest of WeHo Boy Town because they didn't have a bisexual person advisory board. And I'm like, why do we care? Why would we want to be a part of WeHo culture? That's not what bisexuals, that's not the majority of bisexuals care about. So why would we be putting that effort out there? Why do bisexuals go to Pride? Like, it's a whole, I guess if you're queer and it's all, and Pride is all about queer celebration, then okay, fine. But if you're not queer, why would you possibly go to Pride? So there's a lot of things I don't get and a lot of things I do get. So if I had to choose between either being a part of the LGBTQ community or being a part of the straight community, every day of the week I would choose to be part of the straight community. And although I continue to be bisexual and I'm very open about being bisexual, I'm very proud to be bisexual, I want to make sure I never ever lose my access to the people I can identify with. And you know what? This is what people kind of say when they talk about the mostly straight groups, like, oh no, they just don't want to lose their straight privilege. If you call being able to belong to a group that you can connect with, as opposed to a group that you can't, privilege, then yes, that's exactly what it is. And how different is it than a person who has had multiple occasions when they've had, let's say, sex with someone of the opposite gender, and then decides that they're gay, and they only identify as gay. And we all know people like this. We've seen YouTube videos about this clearly. And yet somehow this person, although they have had multiple experiences with people of the opposite gender, suddenly they're no longer any way bisexual. They're just straight out gay. Really? Really? Is that the case? Could it possibly be that no matter what category they actually fall under, that what they're doing is they're saying that it's very important for them to be connected to these people in this community, and they're willing to do whatever is necessary to remain connected to this community. Now, if we are all okay with them doing that, saying, no, people get to choose what they are, people get to identify how they want to identify, and there's nothing wrong with it. They feel they're gay, so they're gay. Okay, great. So that means that those people who are straight and having encounters with people of the same gender, why is that any different? Why is it not heterophobia when someone who decides that, even though they're having bisexual experiences, decide that they're gay? Why is that not heterophobia, but somehow the opposite is homophobia? It isn't. And is it privilege? Like people like to comment, oh yeah, when people are just calling themselves straight, it's a matter of privilege. Is it a privilege? Is it a privilege to be able to connect to the groups that you belong to, that you feel most connected to? So that's what it is to be mostly straight. Call it what you want, say what you want about it. This is the reality of it. Like, I feel much more connected to the straight community than I will ever feel ever to the gay community. So when I meet someone, let's say I were with a guy, I want them to know right up front that, first of all, odds are this ain't gonna be more than just this night, this experience, whatever it is. That's number one. And number two, I want to let people know that culturally speaking, yeah, I'm very straight. Just so you know. And so 70% of the people on the bisexual spectrum identify as mostly straight, and 75% of women identify as mostly straight. So not only is that the vast majority of people on the bisexual spectrum, but also you're not going to change their mind to convince them to name themselves something else. Like I was at a event recently and I mentioned the whole mostly straight thing, and someone said, "Yeah, but if they just feel more comfortable, with the bisexual identity, they'll change that." I'm like, "No. No. Just like bisexuality is a permanent state, mostly straight is a permanent state. So if you feel like you're mostly straight when you are 14 years old, you're going to feel like that when you're 80. That's the way it works." So I'm hoping that I've taken out some of the kind of mystery out of this, because it ain't mysterious at all. It ain't hard to explain at all. It's actually pretty simple. It's about who you feel most connected to. And even if you're a queer person, you can understand it because you probably have feelings in that opposite direction and know people who have done the opposite, as opposed to these supposedly weird, mostly straight people who have sex with someone of the same gender and then, will live a otherwise straight life. So that's it. I hope this helps to explain a little bit of it, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to support the channel, there you can always check out my t-shirts on Amazon.com. And this time I'm going to say that you can also check out my werewolf romances. You can find them on Amazon. This one here, you can get the first book in this series for free. I will put a link to it in the description below. So please check it out. And I don't do videos about the bisexual topic on a regular basis, but I do them frequently. So when you want to know when a new video comes out, you have to click on the little bell next to the subscription button, and clicking on that bell will tell YouTube to let you know when a new one of my videos come out. Until next video, stay cooler, my bisexual friend. Stay cooler. And check out one of my werewolf romances. Bye.